Hello everyone and welcome to another video here on the Cycling Dane channel, and today we're going to look into some of the more memorable moments when it comes to pro cyclists with interviews. Interviews, of course, can be done on a whole set of scenarios from after the race, before the race, and sometimes even within the race. But in today's video, we'll check out some of the examples where the interview went a bit wrong and took a turn for the worse. But with that out of the way, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and without further ado, let's get into it. Post-race interviews are often a source of insightful commentary, but occasionally they descend into chaos. A prime example of this was the 2019 Sparkassen Munster Giro race, where a crash in the final 200 meters sparked an altercation that spilled over into a live interview as well. After working for his Deceuninck Quickstep teammate Alvaro Hodge, Florian Seneschal was involved in a late race incident with Maximilian Walscheid. Seneschal, who himself recently returned from a collarbone injury, blamed Walscheid for causing the crash, claiming that the German rider's rear wheel clipped his. What unfolded next was a dramatic escalation of the situation. As Walscheid was giving the post-race interview to a German broadcaster, Seneschal approached him and struck him, seemingly connecting with his face or helmet. The interviewer abruptly halted as Walscheid confronted Seneschal, throwing a punch before the teammates intervened. The incident was captured on video and quickly circulated online, drawing widespread attention, and Seneschal later offered an apology, attributing his actions to adrenaline and the lingering fear of his recent injury. He told RTBF that the reaction is not me, it's the adrenaline that kicked in. He further claimed that other riders had congratulated him for hitting Walscheid, adding, he also said, "I consider this rider to be a pretty dangerous person and a lot of riders congratulated me for hitting him." Despite this, he acknowledged the negative impact of the image of the sport and his team. And his team, Deceuninck Quickstep, swiftly condemned Seneschal's behavior, issuing a statement on Twitter that the matter was dealt with internally and Florian Seneschal had been fined. The incident served as a stark reminder of how quickly tensions can boil over in the heat of competition, especially when the riders are going for a lead out with 70-80 kilometers an hour and fearing a crash. Peter Sagan was definitely also a quick man on two wheels and has featured in many fun interviews along the years, particularly in the Tour de France, where he frequently distracted fellow riders such as Andre Greipel or even Chris Froome. Despite Peter Sagan being such a fan favorite and having a upbeat mood, that is not always the case, and we saw that in the Tour of Flanders, where he was certainly not in the mood for the questions. Peter Sagan also in the 2012 Tour de France, when he was asked about his celebration, potentially still not used to the stardom that he was gathering, but certainly didn't quite understand what was going on.
You look so really strong. What has happened?
What?
You look so really strong in your feet, and you're only 22 years. What has happened with you?
I don't know.
Another rider from the Tour de France that we haven't mentioned already is the legend himself, Cadel Evans, who had a few run-ins with journalists. In 2008, which is probably the most famous one, he was appearing after receiving the yellow jersey and telling journalists that were touching his shoulder, where he had had an injury before, to not touch his shoulder with their microphone. But it wasn't long before he hit the journalist out and got very annoyed, to say the least. It's not his only moment at the Tour de France where he had a bit of a strange moment, as he also got annoyed when a journalist almost stood on his dog when he was trying to ask him questions and said,
"Don't stand on my dog or I cut your head off." Salut.
Tom Pidcock is a character that we all know quite well, very much doing more of his speaking on the bike than off the bike. But fresh off his second consecutive Olympic gold medal in the mountain bike, he appeared on the British show Good Morning Britain to discuss his victory. When he was asked if the achievement had sunk in, Pidcock offered a reflective response. The interview took a humorous turn when the former politician and presenter Ed Balls commented that mountain biking looks quite easy.
And I don't know a huge amount about mountain biking. I mean, I have to say, rather embarrassingly, I said on the show last week, it looks quite easy. But of course, it's not easy.
Someone showed me a clip of that before I came on.
I know. Anybody can do it.
Balls, visibly flustered, stumbled through his follow-up questions, much to the amusement of the audience, and really showed sometimes when you don't have enough knowledge, you should just shut up. Next on the list is Bradley Wiggins, another Olympic hero from Great Britain. And in 2012, before his Tour de France victory, he was at the Tour de Romandie, where he seemingly took charge at a press conference during the race, where he navigated between French and English with all the different journalists, bouncing all the questions off him and being in a very humorous mood, but certainly was a bit of a funny altercation to see the British star jostling between two languages and asking questions from left, right and centre.
Qui a pas mal prout, je crois que c'était qui a attaqué un Movistar, peut-être pas. We're not trying to make a story out of nothing here, you know. So, right, see you tomorrow.
But if we go from one British star to another, and that is Mark Cavendish, who's known for his fiery personality and has had a few memorable moments with journalists during the Tour de France. One particular one was following stage 10, where Cavendish found himself under scrutiny for an incident that brought down fellow sprinter Tom Wheelers. When a reporter questioned him about the crash, Cavendish's frustration boiled over, snatching the journalist's dictaphone. He firmly denied responsibility.
Why are you taking my tape recorder? Mark, I would like my tape recorder back, please. I'm just asking you a question. Can I have my tape recorder?
Well, it was my fault. I lost the sprint.
Though he eventually returned the dictaphone, the tension in the exchange highlighted Cavendish's unfiltered intensity, creating a moment that was memorable as it was uncontrollable. But you have to say that in the heat of the moment, the adrenaline that these riders feel, it certainly is a bit harsh to call him out for this, and he might have been very shook up by this moment. But there's another Mark Cavendish moment, and here he can't use adrenaline as an excuse, and that was during the presentation of the Omega Pharma Quickstep team for the 2013 season at the famous Ghent velodrome, where Mark Cavendish reached his breaking point. The team had gathered to discuss their ambitions for the season when a journalist shifted the focus to Lance Armstrong's recent doping confessions on the Oprah show and asking Cavendish about his opinion about it. Cavendish initially gave a measured response, expression of disdain for doping and affirming his commitment to clean cycling. But when the journalist pressed further, questioning whether Armstrong's actions had tarnished the sport irreparably, Cavendish snapped.
Oh, Ali, can you get him away, please? You're just asking about Lance. Please get this guy away. He just wants to talk about Lance. No, you can't.
This was certainly a rare outburst, as it wasn't after a race, and it was at the most exposed point for the teams, the team presentation where they're meant to be showing off their sponsors and their goals for the next season, and suddenly this became the story instead. But the man that we mentioned, Lance Armstrong, we might as well talk about him as well, and he famously had a showdown at the Tour of California between himself and a famous Irish journalist during a press conference at the 2009 Tour of California. Armstrong, fresh from his comeback to professional cycling, was confronted by Kimmich over doping allegations. Kimmich had previously likened Armstrong's return to the sport to the cancer returning, a remark that Armstrong did not take lightly, clearly deflecting from the actual metaphor. Armstrong dismissed him with scathing words. The room fell silent as the tension escalated, setting the tone for one of the cycling's most bitter feuds. It was a moment that defied Armstrong's confrontational media presence and Kimmich's relentless pursuit of accountability in the sport. Kimmich himself, a famed author and had exposed doping in the peloton before, was certainly a big critic of Armstrong. Fast forward to 2016, and Armstrong extended an olive branch of sorts to Kimmich. Armstrong was scheduled to speak at the 1-0 conference in Dublin. Armstrong publicly invited Kimmich via Twitter to join him on stage for a no-holds-barred interview. Kimmich's response was cutting. You're confusing me with one of those puppets that used to dance to your tune. Despite the public exchange, Kimmich later indicated that he might consider sitting down with Armstrong under differing terms, though nothing came of it. But with that is basically a selection of interviews that we thought that went a bit wrong, a bit overheated, and this came in the world of cycling. And we know tempers can sometimes go a bit amiss. But anyways, with that's basically it for this video. If you want to see more videos about riders getting angry, why not check out the video here? Or if you want to see the top 10 salaries in the sport, why not check out the video here? But with that, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you around.